Okay, my name is Nolutando Crockett Ntonga. I'm the policy media officer for CARE USA, international humanitarian organization here in Washington. But in my previous lifetime, I was known as Phyllis Crockett. I worked for National Public Radio. I covered the White House. One of the reasons I bailed out of journalism, like so many others of our generation, is I could see this happening. I sat on panels like this. I sat in audiences like this. I had meetings with people like this. Nothing has changed. So my question is, to build on what Jim has said, is we're in the era of change. How do we change? One of the things that united all of us in the golden age of journalism, regardless of color, whatever, is we saw journalism as a calling. We were motivated by journalism as a foundation to our democracy. Now, as has been pointed out, it's all about profits. One of the things I do is media training around the world, and we talk about journalism and its importance to democracy and all that. Well, it's all out the window now. So my question is, how do we change it? How do we change it?
I want to say that I really think that journalists need to fight back. They do fight back within the newsrooms, but you have to take it to a different arena. For instance, I have to say you have to take it to the policy arena as well. The journalists fight for the SHIELD law, which they should do. But decisions are being made all the time that affect your newsroom that you're not a part of. For instance, the internet. The internet, we have to embrace the internet as people of color. We have to. It's the greatest engine of democratic speech you have ever seen. There are no gatekeepers. I can talk directly to you without anyone determining whether my story is worthy enough to be heard. We have to embrace that. The economic model, who knows what's going to happen. But I'm telling you, as I'm sitting here, and there's an issue called network neutrality. I'm not going to get into what it is. But all it is that the broadband companies, they actually want to control the websites you're able to go to, and they want to monetize the internet in a way that is going to totally change the internet as we know it. And that fight's happening today. So if Clarence has a website that does great news stories and I have a website, these broadband companies said, well, you want your site to be seen at the fastest speed by people of color, from your audience? You have to pay more.
Yep.
Who can pay more? People who have the deep pockets can pay more. So the root may be able to be seen by the public because the Washington Post may have the deeper pockets to do it. But if I'm a startup and I have a great idea and a great product, it won't be seen. You'll be seen at a slower speed. It's going to totally change the way the internet functions. And that fight is happening now. And so you need to be a part of that fight. You have to protect. Anytime technology comes along in the history of media, it disrupts the media. This same argument we're having now happened when radio came along. Newspapers didn't know how to handle it when radio came along. We have to protect the internet. And the internet is not this democratic system. It's a democratic system, but it may not be that for long if we don't speak up.
All right.
Facebook. What just happened with Facebook? When they back down.
All right. I got to get this question. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, I'm Charlie Erickson with Hispanic Link News Service. And I'd like to take credit for bringing Joe to Washington some years ago.
Thank you, Charlie. Great, Charlie Erickson.
But, what I'd like to see the panel address is language. That I think language and rather than race, call it what other term you want to call it, but that is becoming critical in how the media handles news in the United States. There are more Hispanics working in Spanish language media than there are in English language media, as an example. And guess who our president did an interview with in Los Angeles yesterday? With a Spanish-speaking disc jockey. And that's where the news, and that has huge influence. As we saw with the two years ago, the marches all over the United States, they happened not because people were talking English, but because the media was talking Spanish. And that's what brought 1 million people out in cities like Chicago or Los Angeles. So here we have a panel with nobody from La Opinión or Univision. I think that would have been nice. And I would like to get your reaction as to whether you see something replacing race as a denominator here that deals with language and culture.
How do you feel about that? Because the traditional model later generations learn English and they mainstream themselves. What do you think is going to happen with the Spanish language people?
I'm not sure I understand your question. What happened to them? A lot of them are very...
No, what's going to happen? You said that there ought to be somebody here on the panel from the Spanish language press, not Hispanic, but Spanish language press, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think is the future of Spanish language? You think it's going to be a separate media?
No, Spanish language media is growing now, while English language media is shrinking. And I think that's something that Unity and everybody else ought to be looking at.
Right.
And I'm asking you how you folks feel about
Yeah.
that.